Welcome to the Jaron Jarvis channel. I am Jaron Jarvis. Today, I would like to introduce to you, They Clap for Me. I've been fascinated with death since I was about 10 or 11. I wish I could say that I had the revelation of my own doing, but the truth is, it was taught to me by my father, when he killed himself, and my mother. "This is because of you," were his final words. In the moment I didn't pay too much attention to them, as I was distracted by the sight of my mother with 4 bullets in her chest. The sound of a bullet piercing his skull and exiting into the wall definitely burst my bubble and brought me back to reality. At the time I thought my life was ruined, but the truth is, it got so much better. My father made me realize that I could be someone important. I could be someone who helps people get to the next stage of life. Even before that day I knew this world was a disgustingly cruel one. I knew that there was life after death. A much better one. I know that my parents are watching me, with pride at what I've done. They even express their gratitude for my services by, in a sense, clapping for me. They use wind and trees. Every night, I hear them outside my house. It's especially loud whenever I send someone to the next phase. My latest send-off was to a 7-year-old and his mother. I'm very selective as to who I take, and these two fit the criteria. They have had awful lives, living in the ghetto for all of it while barely making ends meet. I got wind of them due to the father making the local news because of his recent incarceration. I knew they were prime for a new life. It's why I did it. I drove by their house. I snatched the boy up from his front yard. I brought him to my house. I gave him juice laced with sleeping pills. Since it doesn't kick in for a while, I told him tales of people I had helped and of what lies beyond this world. I think he enjoyed his final moments on earth. Once he fell asleep, I went to work. I have a special blade that I use to make transportation of the corpse's pieces easier. By now I had mastered going through bone, and especially since it was a child, very easy and smooth. By the time I had finished, my blade had saved 5 souls. Soon to be 6. I took one of the bins I have stored and put the body in piece by piece, gently. First the legs. Then the arms. The torso. Very messy operation, but definitely worth it. Finally the head on top of it all. I closed the bin and dealt with it appropriately. Next was his mother. A night after he had been taken, I returned to the house around 10 p.m. I could hear her whimpering from inside, although it was getting drowned out by the roar of wind. This put a massive grin on my face. I got very giddy. Pain before the rebirth makes it much more satisfying. I went through the back window and landed in the kitchen. I could see her from where I was. No time to spare. I ran up, and before she could even register, I hit her over the head, knocking her out. I quickly put her petite body into my car and drove into the nearest wooded area. I would have gone to my home, but the woods are much closer, and by then she would have woken up. Once we arrived, I stripped her of her clothing and placed her on the grass. Since she was wearing jeans and a sweater, cutting through would have been a little more difficult. I'll admit, I also did it for my own amusement. It's not an easy responsibility, this work. By the time I had put her clothes in my car and brought the knife out, she had begun to wake up. I tried to comfort her, but she had begun to kick and landed her foot between my legs. This made me a little angry and slowed me down, but it was a fair response. She didn't understand what was to come. I jumped on her and began pounding the knife through her. In and out. In and out. 4 stabs through her perky breasts, then 1 through her skull. Eventually I started getting into rhythm with it. I was giggling like a schoolgirl. For the first time in this job, I was having fun. And my parents knew it. They were watching. They were clapping for me.